Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and installing our Curt 4-pole wiring for 2020 Toyota Highlander. If you're going to have a hitch on your car, a really good idea to have is a 4-pole wiring. What it's going to do, say if you get a small trailer you want to pull around, maybe you have your bike rack that has a lighting kit on it, because some of the larger ones do, and even some of the cargo carriers will have lighting options with those. Your 4-pole wiring is going to be essential. If you're pulling a trailer, this is going to allow you to have all of the lights and signals. It's going to give you your tail lights, it's going to give you your brake lights, and your left and right turn signals. So that's going to keep it to where you're legal going down the road, and also people that are behind you are going to know your intentions when you hit your signals. If you have any questions about 4-pole wiring for your vehicle, feel free to leave a comment below and we'll get it figured out for you. Other than that, installation for this is a little tricky. There are some things you're going to have to take apart. Other than that, it's not too bad. If it's something you don't have time to do yourself, you can always take a look at our dealer locator and get something done for you locally. But as far as doing it yourself, if you want to stick around, watch our video, we're going to help you get it installed. To start our installation, we're going to need to get both of our taillight housings out. So what we're going to do, we're going to have this little cover here. You just want to pull back a little bit by the light itself. And then this should just pop right out of place for you. Just be careful with it. And just pull straight back and out of the way. Once we have that out of the way, we have 3 10mm bolts back here. Take all these out. 2 of them are for the tail lights. 1 of them is for the bumper cover. Once we do that, we're going to get our taillight removed. So we need to push straight back. These can be in there pretty good, so just kind of be careful with it. Sometimes, if you get your hand behind it, you got to get it to pop like that. And now you can get it out of its spot. Now we're going to need to get these wires unplugged so we can get our housing out of the way. So if you pop them out of their little slots that they're in, give you a little more room to work. Start with the smaller ones, get both of those unplugged, and remember their location because they are very similar. Now with the smaller ones unplugged, now we can get at the larger main one. Just kind of push that in, push down on your tab, and pull back. If you get some dirt and build up in there, that can make it a little harder to remove. Now once we have our bumper cover pulled back a little bit, we have a 10mm bolt back here that holds on this black part. We need to get that loosened up and backed out. Can be a tight fit, so a small ratchet works really well. Now mounted to your bumper mount, you're going to have another plug down here, and that's going to be our main plug. You just want to push in on the tab really hard. You may have to push down and then in, and then just pull up on that, and we're going to be able to remove the whole harness itself. All right, now we have our box here for our 4-way wiring, and what we're going to do is this green wire is going to end up running over behind our bumper and then up over to our passenger side. This side is going to get fish wired up into our driver's side tail light pocket. And on our driver's side pocket, we're going to have our ground wire. That's going to get grounded up there. And now, this is our 4-pole. We're going to run this out right over here by our hitch. So what I did is I took some airline tubing and just ran it down from the top down. It's So what I can do with this is I can tape this off to my harness, and I'll be able to pull this up through, up to my tail light wiring, and we'll get that connected. Now we can just pull our wire up. Now we have our connection down here that was mounted to our fascia mount. We're going to have a male and female connection, and these are going to line up. This one has a blade in it, and it'll go into our existing one that goes into our wiring harness for our vehicle. Just want to line up our slots, line up our latch, and get that clicked into place. You may have to push kind of hard on it, but once you get a good snap, give it a little tug, and you'll see that you have it connected. Give yourself a little more play. You may want to pull your box up, push your box up underneath and through your harness. That way you get a little more room to work with. Now, due to the lack of space back in here where I need to put my ground, I did find on here on the bumper, I think I'm just going to ground off of this because this does have a steel mount. So I'm going to take this bolt out and ground right to this. And that should give me a good location to ground to. I did peel my wire back off of our harness just a little bit to give me a little bit more room. I can always tuck that in after I get it mounted up. Now we can take our bumper mount that has our wiring harness attached to it, and we'll plug in this end to our harness that comes out of our 4-way wiring box. Just want to get that to click in place, give it a little pull, make sure it's good and tight. And then we can go ahead and tuck our wires down. And make sure you tuck them in a way where you have enough room for your bumper to go back in place. Now we'll take our green wire and run this over to the passenger side. Now I didn't take this panel out because I was able to get my fish wire to come right out here by the side of it. Now I'll just tape off to this and pull this one up to our passenger side. Basically the same thing as we did on the driver's side. Just want to line everything up. Get it to click into place. Now we'll plug in to our factory harness with our end off of our 4-way T. And come on. Make sure you get that good and snap together. A good click. Now, tuck your wires down, making sure you're leaving enough room for your fascia to pop back in place. When you're putting your bumper mount back in place, make sure you have your wiring harness behind it, just like it was when we took it apart. Now we'll come back through and plug in our wiring harness into the back of our tail light housing. Now I cleaned off the back of my box with alcohol in the frame right up here. What I'm going to do is take a piece of sticky tape and just stick that to the back of my box and get the other side off of there. Now I can stick my box in place. Now after I do that, another thing I'm going to do is there is a factory wiring harness above this. I'm going to run a zip tie through the end of my box that has a circle in it and up through that harness. That way it's just a backup in case this sticky tape ever lets go. Now in your kit you won't have a heat shrink butt connector, but I'm going to use one. We do have these available here, at etrailer, and I do recommend then for any of your fittings, they're going to be outside. I'm going to just get this crimped on to my positive wire, and this is going to be the wire that's going to run forward, and it will be our power for our box. Get this other end crimped on, and then I can shrink up my connector. Now I'm going to take my heat source and shrink up my butt connector. What this is going to do, it's going to heat up and shrink up around the wire, and it's going to provide a waterproof seal, and not only provide a waterproof seal, it's going to help keep our wires together as well. Now our power wire came off the back of our box and came down, ran across over here. We went up over top of the rear subframe because we want to stay away from any moving parts or suspension components and make sure we're not getting any hot things like exhaust. We went up and over and through and ended up coming over on top of the gas tank and ended up running it all the way down on top of the tank. And it's hard to see because we've got this felt backer put back together. But we ended up coming up to the front of the tank, met up with some lines, and tied off to the lines, as you can see here, came up, ran up and followed those lines all the way up into the engine compartment. And that's where we ended up meeting up with the battery up there. We followed the lines up, the back of our firewall came up and ended up tying off to right here, came around our battery and left a little bit extra and just tucked it down in here to our fuse holder and came up to our positive post on our battery. All right, now in our kit, we're gonna have our fuse holder and we'll have a ring terminal that comes with it. What we need to do is get this set up because we're gonna be attaching it right here to our positive terminal on our battery. So we got our wire stripped back and we'll just put you wanna give your wire a good twist. Get that twisted on there. Then you take your ring terminal, put that in place, and just get that crimped on. Give it a good crimp. Check it, make sure you have a good tight connection. Now on the other side of that, we have our wire stripped off and twisted. And with this, we have our heat shrink butt connector, which does not come in the kit, but I'm gonna go ahead and use one. Get that crimped in place. Now where we have our wire pulled up, I like to leave just a little bit extra and cut our wire off. And we can strip that back. Give that a good twist. Now we can add on our fuse holder setup we just made. Get that crimped in place. Now I'll use my heat source and heat up our butt connector. Now on our positive terminal on our battery, we have a 12mm nut right here on this stud, so I'm going to go ahead and back that off. Now I'll get my ring terminal attached and tighten my nut back down. Now I can take my 10 amp fuse from the kit, install it in my fuse holder. Now we can test our lights. All right, now we can check our lights. We'll have our lights on and we're working there. We'll do left turn right turn with brakes, left turn with brakes, and all of our lights are working. And that was a look at our Curt 4-pole wiring for 2020 Toyota Highlander. I'm Scott with eTrailer, and thanks for watching.